Hey guys, Sprinter Doctor here. Do you have an electric sliding door that's giving you problems? Well, I've got a 2021 Sprinter here that has the electric sliding door, and the customer says that sometimes it doesn't like to close. Well, I'm going to go through and check all the adjustments and walk you through it with me. So let's get started. Okay, tools needed on your electric sliding door adjustment. You're going to need a 17 wrench. You're going to need a 19 wrench. I prefer the one that is going to be thin so you can get in there good with it. You're going to need a 15 millimeter deep well socket with an extension for your upper door lock striker. You're going to need a T30 Torx for your centering cones and for the upper height adjustment. And you're going to need a T40 Torx and small extension for your door lock striker, the lower one in the rear. And I've got a handy set of feeler gauges that are plastic. Just kind of helps you to check the gaps and stuff. You can get away without this tool, but if you have it, it will help. And then a Sharpie marker so you can mark your strikers where they're at, so you can have a reference point when you're moving them up or down or in or out. And you're going to need a piece of paper to check your bump stops adjustments. All right. Okay, the very first step is going to be open the sliding door. And just stop it right there. Now, see that switch right there? We're going to need to turn that from auto to manual. All right. Okay, now that we have the door in manual mode, I can move the door forwards and backwards by hand. All right. So now what you want to do, shut the door till it's almost closed, right here, like this. And you can get down here and check your body line. Make sure the sliding door body line runs straight with the rest of the body line on the van. Check that on the front and on the back. In this case, I do need to raise the height of the door on the back. The front is in good alignment, so I don't need to bother that. All right. Okay, this is the rear mechanism for adjusting the door height up and down on the electric sliding door. It's got a 17 millimeter lock nut, and there's a 7 millimeter hex at the bottom of that threaded shaft that we're going to use to adjust the height. I'm going to loosen that lock nut with my 17 wrench, and my door needs to go up. All right. So I'm going to loosen my lock nut. And I'm going to turn this shaft counterclockwise. So I'm turning it to the left. All right. Be careful not to hit the paint. You're just going to leave that lock nut loose, and you're going to check it periodically, and when you get it to adjusted to the right height where you want it, you're just going to tighten that lock nut back down. Okay, if you need to adjust the height on the front of the sliding door, it's going to be the same as the manual sliding doors. You're going to loosen this T30 right here. All right. And then you're going to take a 19mm wrench, and if the door needs to go up, you're going to turn it to the left. All right. And if it needs to go down, you're going to turn it to the right. All right. In my case, the front of the door is adjusted properly. I don't need to go up or down. So I'm just going to tighten this back up. Now that I have my door height adjusted, I'm going to look at what's referred to as the rotary hatch. That's the opening in the door latch where the striker goes in. And you can see that after we've adjusted our height, the door striker is down kind of low, almost going to hit on the bottom of that rotary latch opening, or rotary hatch opening. So what I'm going to need to do is adjust my door striker up just a little bit. All right, so to adjust our door striker, you're going to need a T40 Torx. And what I like to do is take a Sharpie and mark where my starting point is. Okay, I adjusted it up just a little bit, and I just tightened the bolts back down by hand. I didn't tighten them down good yet. I'm just going to shut my door partially and see where the striker lines up on my rotary hatch, and adjust it some more if I need to, and if not, I'll just go ahead and tighten it down. All right, I got it centered up in my rotary hatch opening. That's where you want it. Here you can see how much I moved it. All right, tightened up, nice and clean. Okay, if you need to adjust this upper striker, I recommend doing the same as I did below. You want to mark the position of your striker so you know where it's at in relation to where you're going to go with it. It's a 15mm, so you're just going to loosen it. Okay, you can see I moved it up a little bit. Now I'm going to close my door back and see how the striker lines up with the rotary hatch and the opening in the door where the latch is. That's called the rotary hatch. It looks really good and centered up. So, All right, now once you have the height adjusted and the latch is adjusted, now we're going to adjust our centering cones. The centering cones are right here. See? There's a T30 on the top and the bottom, and there's one down here and there's one up top. So what you're going to do is you're going to loosen these bolts just enough to where you can move this, but when you let go of it, it doesn't just fall. And you're going to loosen this on the top and the bottom. Then we're going to shut our door 3 times, and that will adjust these centering cones to be centered up in the holes in the door jamb. So once we shut it 3 times, then we're going to tighten these back up a little at a time, top and bottom, and so it doesn't move when you're adjusting it or when you're tightening it, and then just get them tightened back down. Okay? Okay, I've got my bottom centering cone loose. Now I'm going to loosen the top one. Once you have it loose enough to move, but not just fall down, just kind of get it close to the center as you can. And then now we're going to shut our door 3 times. There's one. There's 2. Remember, we still have it in manual mode. And there's 3. All right, now I'm just going to tighten these T30s back up on these centering cones a little bit at the top and bottom alternately so that it doesn't move while I'm trying to tighten it. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. All right, that's it for the centering cones. All right, now that we have our centering cones adjusted, now we need to make sure our rubber bump stops are adjusted properly, okay? So the way we do that is with a sheet of paper. We're going to shut this sheet of paper in the door in between the rubber bump stop and the body. And if it pulls out a little bit snug, that's a proper adjustment. If it tears the paper, that's too tight. Pretty loose, so I'm going to tighten it a little bit. So I'm just going to turn it out just a little bit, maybe a 1/4 of a turn. Still pretty loose. We'll go another 1/4 of a turn. Still loose. All right, this one was looser than I thought. Let me We'll keep going. Okay, see, that's too tight. We'll go back in a little bit. Be careful about pushing in on the door to close it, because if you push it too hard, you will bend the door, so we don't want that. That's still too tight. Slightly too tight. Just going in just a little bit. Okay, that's good. Okay, we have another bump stop on the top corner, so we need to do that one as well. And remember, if you're over 4 feet off the ground, you need to be tied off. I'm just going to shut this. It's too loose. Let me try again. I'm gonna adjust it a little bit out. Still too loose. It's a little too tight. Sorry if this is not more elegant, but I'm just going to turn it in just a little bit. That's pretty snug, but it doesn't rip the paper, so that's good. So we've got our height adjusted, we've got our strikers adjusted, we've got our centering cones adjusted, we've got our bump stops adjusted. Now we can go ahead and turn the door back in auto mode, and I'll show you how to re-initialize, re-normalize the door. So here we go. I'm just going to open the door. I'm going to reach in and turn that knob back to auto. And now you just want to pull out on the handle a little bit. and it'll shut and latch. And it should shut and latch good if everything's adjusted properly. Now we can function test it. All right, we'll try to shut it. All right, functions really good, so I'm happy with it.